Okay guys, so today we're going to be making this little animation just here. If you do end up making it, just tag me in it because I'd like to see it. And I'll also check my Instagram down below as well. Alright, let's get into it. Throughout the tutorial, if you're not sure on what I pressed, the keycast is just down here, so just rewind it and have a look. Okay, so first things first, I want to put in a torus and make it very high poly. So I'm just going to put it into wireframe. And I'm going to give it a lot of cuts. Now, I want to be focusing on the loop cuts, because they're the ones we're going to be turning into lines. So I'm going to pretty much increase that until the max. And I'm going to leave it like that. I'm also going to put in a curve circle. And with these, what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to scale it up to 10. I'm going to do the same thing for the path. So now what's going to happen is that we have our tunnel. Let's go back in here. So we have our tunnel, and then we have our path for the camera to travel along. And this path, I'm just going to smooth it out by going to the data property of the path, and I'm going to bump this up to 30. So we have a nice smooth path for it to travel along. Alright. So a couple of things I want to do now is I'm just going to put a camera in. So let's go camera. I'm just going to zero out all these properties by pushing backspace. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to rotate it until it's facing up. So I'm going to type 90 into the X. I've got 90 in the X, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place a square in here for an example. I'm not going to use the robot, just because you can use anything you would like, and this is just the easiest way to show you guys how to do this. So I've got my cube, and I'm going to select the cube, and then select the camera, push Control P, and then parent to object. Okay, so now I'm going to put a constraint on this camera, which I'm going to put a follow path, and that path is going to be the Bezier. Okay, now I'm just going to animate this. I'm just going to go into wireframe mode. Let's push 7, get the top view. And now we're on frame 1. Let's just go follow curve. Insert a keyframe. Go to the very last frame plus one more. Insert 100. Insert another keyframe, and now this is going to animate all the way around. Now, if your animation isn't at a constant rate, just come over to the graph editor and make sure this line is linear. If it's not, just press T, and then it might be on Bezier, just go linear. Okay. Go back to the timeline. So at the moment, let's have a look at this camera. Take it out of wireframe mode. Alright, so now we have pretty much all the objects we need for this scene. And now let's just position it how we like. So I'm gonna just turn this like that. I'm gonna come over to the camera, the resolution for the output, and then go 1080 by 1080. You can do any resolution you like. Just make sure it is a square if you're uploading to Instagram. Now that we have everything like this, we've got our camera. It is going 360 degrees around in our tunnel. We have our cube inside as well. Okay, so now let's add the lines. So of the torus, let's go in edit mode, and let's push 2. I'm just going to take it out of wireframe. Now, what we want to do here is select. So just double click on one loop, come up to select, come down to select loop, and then go edge ring. Bam. So what it's going to do is just select all the edge rings. Now, let's just push Control E. Let's go mark freestyle edges, and that should turn green. So all our edges are going to turn green like that. So going back to the camera, take out of edit mode. Now let's go over to the freestyle properties. We're actually going to take it into rendered mode just to see what's going on. And the data, the world properties, I'm going to take that to 0. I want to complete the back. Alright, so come over to the camera, the render properties, turn on freestyle, and under freestyle, let's put 0.2. Now let's style this, let's style the line how we like it. So I'm going to come over to the layer properties, and I'm going to come all the way to the bottom where it says freestyle line style. Now first I'm going to go color, and with this color I'm going to go white. So now if I push render, first of all I'm going to go mark edge mark. So what that's going to do is place a line on the edges we marked if we turn off all these other ones. So now we should have this. So as you can see here, now we have a line on only the edges we've marked, which is what we want. Okay, so something else we can do with this is just come down here and add a modifier and a bit of noise. Now with the influence, just 0.5, so half that. And now if we do it again, now what we're going to have is a little bit of noise along the line to just give it a bit more of a hand-drawn look and make it not perfect, which is what we want. Okay, so I'm just going to come property preview. Now I'm just going to decorate this box real quick. So new material, I'm just going to make that black. I'm going to put on one more material and make that an emitter of white. Emission, I might give it 5. So if I just go, and then, so now that we have these two materials, come over to the modifiers, and let's just add a wireframe modifier. And let's go untick, replace original, and offset of 1. Now we have this. So our wireframe is now glowing. So what we need to do now is I'm just going to add a bloom to it. Alright, so we're nearly done. A couple more things we need to do to this. What I'd like to do with this now is, I'm just going to go to the material, is add just a displacement to this and also a subdivision surface. So let's just put a displacement on this, new displacement, cloud. And I'm going to make the depth quite, I'm just going to make it 5, type in 5 on that one. And the size, I'm going to make that 1. And then on the strength, back on the displacement itself, I'm going to type in 0.1. So what that's going to do is just add a little bit of unevenness to the edge. So what it's going to do is just add a little bit, give it a little bit more hand-drawn look, which I think looks pretty cool. Now, of course, you can apply more edge loops if you want to make it a bit more detailed, which does look better in the end. Alright, so I'm just going to add a quick subdivision surface, and I'm just going to put that above the displacement. Let's have a look at that. So now that we have pretty much everything, now I'm just going to add some movement very simply to our cube. Alright, so I'm going to go to frame 1, and I'm going to just insert a keyframe into the location, come down to the graph editor, and I'm going to add some noise to the X and Z axis. So now that we have that, I'm going to do the same thing. Location, add a modifier of noise, and now our cube is jiggling. There we go. So obviously that's a bit too much. I'm just going to add a bit to the Z as well whilst we're here. Okay. Looks terrible at the moment, but we'll smooth that out. So if I just pull this across a little bit. Now strength and scale, this is what we need to adjust. So strength, so there's a lot more movement, and then also scale, so it's a lot smoother now. So just like that, and I'm going to do the same thing to the x-axis. Now obviously I've added a bit too much, so we want to, under strength, I'm going to just turn that down a little bit, and the same thing for the Z. Now obviously this is too much, but this is just an example of what you could do with this animation. I'm just going to turn the strength on that one down a little bit. So now we get this kind of random but smooth animation, and the way to make this loop is just come down to the restriction frame rate, the range, and let's just turn the end frame up. So what this does, right, it adds a bezier to the start and the end of it. So I'm going to give it a bezier of 10 frames on either side, and I'm going to do the same for the z-axis. Come down here, just going to slide that across until we hit 250, which is the amount of frames we have. Put a 10 frame buffer on either side, and now what's going to happen is that's going to smoothly start from start to finish. And now obviously you can adjust that to how you like, but this is just an example of how to add some quick movement without having to animate every single keyframe. Now I'm just going to rotate this. I'm just going to rotate this a little bit and then scale it down. So now it just looks like a bit of a, just to show off more of the sides. Now let's just give that a render. So you're pretty much done right there. Of course you can add more lines, change the color, you can add whatever object you want into this. Really just see how far you can stretch yourself with this. If you do end up making this, please tag me in it. I'd love to see it. And thanks for watching.